All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Oregairu, Season 1, Episode 11. Yukino is sick.
Yeah, she put on too much of a burden on herself, her physical body, and her emotional core.
Right.
She is, yes, she is stuck in a rut right here, and this is one where she could potentially get some help.
Yep.
From,
From Hachiman?
From Hachiman.
Possibly, hopefully.
That'd be pretty awesome.
Because Hachiman, you did have a part to play in this. Not just in the whole thing of keeping the workload on her, but also the emotional state and things.
Yeah, so, but this is ultimately her doing here. This is something which she chose. And
that is true.
Here we are.
That is true. This
is good that we're getting to have focus on what will be the resulting state that we find her in when she's this
in this vulnerable state.
In this vulnerable state, exactly.
Will that change how you respond to her apology?
Yeah, and Yui did make you
promise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Hachiman, without further ado,
your move.
Let's jump into it. Yeah. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion. This is a really good episode.
Yeah, some things happened.
A lot of little things happening underneath the surface that aren't that far below the surface.
No, and they were in fact rather obvious this episode.
Exactly. This was one of those episodes where I really appreciated the moments that were, bubbling up at the top, and then the things that were, a couple feet below.
The bubbles that were still reaching.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, every character felt like they got a little bit of a highlight this episode. And I mean every character. It was really, really special to even have in the comedy bits, having the play be something that felt like it was like a genuinely wholesome,
heartfelt thing. Yeah.
But also quite funny because it's all framed within the fact that this girl seriously needs an intervention.
She just wants BL. Yeah.
Oh, yes. And will totally subject her friends to make it happen in live action right in front of her for her own pleasure.
But hey, the adapting of a classic work, and basically just using that script, but then, showing how it can be framed in a different light to take on a whole new meaning. Yeah, there you go. You know?
It's almost in like the way that you approach the thing can dictate the way in which it is interpreted.
Almost like the other side to the saying that Hachiman brought up of if you want to change, things, then change. If you want to change your world, change yourself.
Which he says is a lie.
Right, and he makes a good point that he brings up, but at the same time, your perspective does dictate your reality. So maybe there'd be some things that you would learn if you looked at things a different way. So, yeah.
And while reality is still a cruel one at times and can just slap you upside right through your illusionary perception, or your illusion-based perception, there are still going to be things that you'll perceive that are true of reality through that, and some that will just go whoosh right by you. But maybe this time, we got a little bit of a thing with Hachiman. He is actually exceptionally perceptive, and he is perceptive and actually adept enough with his words that he somehow found a way to reject and not reject Yui in one exchange.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't doubt Hachiman's ability to cuck himself, which that's the whole basis for this romantic comedy, and I love it as a twist on the genre. But before we get to that, let's talk about that whole. Well,
you want to go linearly?
Yeah. So we open up in the episode and we've got the
sick.
Well, right, but even before then, BL, haha, there we go.
Yeah, then about that.
Yukino's sick. They go to visit her. Yeah. Now, this scene I feel like is really broken up into two parts, at least from Hachiman's perspective, with the when he's actually in the apartment versus when he leaves and he has that conversation with himself. Yeah. But when he goes in there, it's weird because he calls in Yui to help out. And I'm not sure whether that's because it's I need help myself in helping out Yukino, or because I don't actually want to help out Yukino, so I want you to be there too, so that
it solves 3 things.
Okay.
He made a promise to help. He's like, look, I'm helping.
Sure, and sort of showing her that he is.
2, he's going there with someone else so that it's actually something that will feel more socially acceptable.
Sure.
3, he's offloading. He's doing Sagami's thing.
Yes.
He's doing the thing of, oh, okay, now I'm good and I'm out. I've done my duty. I'm my bare minimum. I'm out. And Yui, you can take this. But like you were saying, it's also something where it's also something where he doesn't necessarily want to be here because they have awkward past. And when that colors over a lot of the interactions that they have.
Yep, and deep down, even if he denies a lot of it, yes, there are things that Yukino has done that has caused this situation to come about. But the reason that it's still in this situation is because of his own goddamn stubbornness. So, he didn't accept the apology and things like that, right? So he's coming here to kind of say, your apology isn't totally rejected, but at the same time, I can't be upfront about that, and that's again why I want you here so that conversation isn't brought up. And then I'm going to leave, but then it's like, oh, hold on. I do actually want to help out, though. What's a way I can help out in my own way while still being me? It felt very sort of like early koi kaiki, where it's the, okay, let me go into the bathroom and talk about this to myself. Like, how am I going to justify doing this? Well, I'm going to channel some of my own hatred for society and the system, right? To basically say, no, it's not that I'm helping her. It's that I'm just flipping off these people that I've always wanted to flip off, right? I'm standing up for myself.
Right.
You know, it's not that I'm standing up for her.
Yeah, now watch me go change the world.
Exactly.
What I love about
change your world, maybe.
Yeah.
You know?
I can show you. No.
It's almost like you decided to change yourself there, Hachiman.
One would actually argue that it's quite difficult to actually know when you've changed yourself.
Sure.
And that's something that I think we could get into with the whole Haruno Hachiman interaction.
That whole enchilada.
But the prenup to the enchilada there, the wonderful, beautiful, crafted shade that Hachiman basically went and he had kind of jabbed his way to kind of feel out how he was with
how the defenses worked out
with Yukino, and he's like, all right, okay, it's time. Cracks knuckles.
Yep.
I'm gonna deliver a big one here.
Yeah.
Oh, we get this perfect setup for it. People are bringing up these names, and oh god, they're actually bad. I don't even have to fake it here. These are really bad. And oh my god, really, Yukino, that was yours?
Yeah.
Oh boy. So then they come up with one that starts to get a little bit of positive traction, and he's like, my time has come. He's like, he puts on the mask, and he's like, not all heroes wear capes, you know? And then he's like, it's time for me to be a villain.
I'm gonna end this lady's whole career. Right. She wasn't even here for anyway.
She was not even ready for, and wasn't even necessarily warranted.
And one of the things that I really loved about how this all went down is the veneer that Hachiman put up. Not that it was about himself, but the sincere effort he put into trying to actively convince everybody this is the one we should go for, right? Because he's like, no. If you look at the character, it's actually giving commentary on human interaction,
right? You know, that was the thing he had to think up first, probably, because he has to sell the reason as to why he's going to talk about Yukino's situation in such a way that he can absolutely destroy the dynamic between her and Sagami, giving Yukino the opportunity to take initiative and supplant basically the awkward power dynamic. Then draw the ire of everyone else in the whole situation so that they just quickly accept whoever takes initiative to bring them out of this awkward situation. And which Yukino caught on to it.
Oh yeah, of course.
Laughed about it because it's hilarious.
Yep.
And then it's like, oh, yes, right. I'm going to quickly do this before I lose my momentum here.
Right. Because it is such a, lame way of doing things.
Right.
You know, it is so Hachiman, and yet it's coming from this awesome place where he's actually doing this to help out.
This is his way of trying to help. Yeah.
Right. He's like, the whole thing of I'll be the best loser ever.
Yeah.
Well,
here you are.
It's like, I can do that. If this is my place within the social hierarchy, if I simply must accept, then fine, I'll accept with bite. And and he does it. And if he hadn't fully, like, I feel like if he hadn't presented it in as serious a way that he did while still being absolutely snarky and just, basically just giving the finger to to Sagami, then I don't think everyone else that was listening would have necessarily given it the amount of attention, respect, whatever you want to call it, that it deserved. Because while it would still be true, that this kind of stuff was happening,
right?
I think they could have.
With him, he was getting a lot of work put on him.
Right, exactly.
It wasn't something that was backbreaking at the time necessarily. It was a bit,
but it was something that shouldn't have been happening.
Right.
And by bringing it up in this serious way, it makes it so that everyone else doesn't see it as just, oh, you're just complaining.
Yeah, exactly. What he's kind of doing is saying, any of you that feel like you're slacking off, you're getting called out here by proxy.
Right.
Because I am making a kind of a point about how, well, I'm not slacking off. Like,
right.
I'm actually like working hard here. And which they can't debate whether or not that's true, because some of them don't really know necessarily what his entire job is, for one thing, but also they can just only look at their own thing and be like, yeah, I actually have been kind of slacking off a little bit. But more so than that, there's someone else in the group who we know has a lot more work on their hands, and they can draw those connections just by themselves, naturally.
And while, in this instance, let's say, if Hachiman had then started saying, this is what we must do or whatever, no one would have listened to him. They would have laughed him out, right? Yeah, because he's the loser.
Exactly.
Right? But when, and then in some ways, maybe the fact that Yukino laughed at him, laughed, even if she wasn't laughing at him, right? It's something where she's both basically, since she was the one actually leading everything, she's acknowledging to everyone, yes, he's right.
I just won,
yes, he's basically a loser, and yes, Sagami needs to, shape up.
You know what it sounded like to me? It sounded like gratitude. It was a laughter of basically thank you, because that was hilarious to listen to, for one. And I think that's kind of the response that a lot of the people in this show who are like really intelligent, that's their response in a lot of ways to Hachiman. And it's some ways a little bit belittling. But it's that, God, you're entertaining. Like, it's the
all right, you little shit. You know, like,
exactly. And it's like, all right, I see what you're doing here. I'll play ball because it's entertaining, but also because I actually, in this case, Yukino, I think she admired and respected the effort.
Right. You got a point there, Slick.
Yeah, exactly. Even though it was the Hachiman style.
Right.
I also really wanted to draw attention to these two randoms that walk out of the room and basically give the, what the heck was that? It's like, in the end, he just wanted to slack off too. Now, there's a couple ways to interpret this, and I just think all are valid unless, we end up getting a definitive interpretation.
Given the fact that we don't know their names or anything.
Right. Yeah. They're nobodies. Basically, the idea that one of them was confused. Just like, what? But they could tell something happened there that was going on underneath the surface. Okay. The second one goes, I guess in the end, he just wanted to slack off too. Now, two could mean as well with regards to them, or him, or whoever.
Or with regards to Sagami.
Specifically to Sagami.
Right. Because either way, it has a lot of meaning, because that's basically saying the fact that they aren't named characters, that basically just means this is something that we can substitute in for the general opinion of the people that heard this.
Exactly.
Right? That's so there's so it was there, that was weird, like, sort of what a loser, or I was confused, or whatever, right? But then it's also either we all knew that Sagami was just wanting to slack off, and or we all wanted to slack off too, because Sagami slacking off doesn't generate that much work. Everyone else was also, like they followed the leadership, right? They're like, oh, she's getting away with it, then fine, well,
we will too.
And we will too. If we just sort of push off a couple of our tasks here and there, it's no big deal, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, right.
Oh, no more slacking off, I guess.
Yep, which is great because, this dog doesn't bite, but he can hurt you in other ways, right? Like, So the fact that you have the
great.
person that everyone has a low opinion of anyways be the one to actually bring up the thing that is hurtful, that will not exactly garner them favor with the masses, that's effective.
It is.
And Haruno brings it up.
Yeah. But before we get to that, we got to give their little exchange where she basically is just like, thank you. Because she's like, maybe you should clear up their misunderstanding. And she's like, well, everyone got their answers, so the problem ends there. And she's like, you make excuses for the most worthless things. And excuses are meaningless. The tougher things get, the more likely people are to come to their own conclusions.
Oh, it's almost like that's what's happening and is going to continue to happen with you, Hachiman.
It's really funny how one of the things that is a common trait of human beings is that if you want to learn about them and who they are, listen to what they say, and then match that against what they do.
Sure.
Hachiman's actions and words are sometimes in such perfect alignment that you can just get this glimpse of a perfect picture of like, oh shit.
Yeah, and comedy is also another way to get really good insight into a person or a culture or a society.
True.
And Hachiman loves to make his little quips. Because sometimes maybe it's something that even he wants to say but doesn't actually feel secure enough to really say it with force, so he just keeps it to his own head or in sarcastic remarks. Sarcastic remarks.
I loved you're probably right. Excuses have no meaning. And it's her thing of, I'm thinking about my life.
Right.
Excuses have no meaning.
Yeah, like
I guess you're
Yukino
right.
will remember this. Like this
exactly.
is because Yukino puts up this front of
having everything figured out.
Because she has a lot of stuff figured out, right?
She has quite a few things, and even the things that she knows she hasn't got figured out on some level, she's pretty confident in that she's doing the right thing in response at the very least.
Yeah, and she probably has it more figured out than the people around her, so there's not too much point, bothering with it, right?
She doesn't get much, if you will, conflict in that regard for the most part, unless it's with the abrasiveness with regards to people getting into relationships with her.
Sure.
Thus, that's why she has no friends.
Right, and that's why when she has contemplative moments like this, we know that,
other friends. You guys get what I'm saying.
Right.
But yeah, when she has contemplative moments like this, you get to see...
It's something where you know that she's going to stew over this a bit, right?
Right.
In her apartment where she lives by herself, which that's interesting also. But Haruno...
hold on. We're not done yet. And then they boot the banter about the fact that, what their names that they came up with. And she legitimately smiles here after she kind of roasts him a bit. And then she's like, looking at you makes me think forcing oneself to change is stupid. And she walks
that's
away.
a line.
Like, that is a line that is so good.
Yeah. So
because you know what she's just did there? She just basically said, "You inspire me a little bit, Hachiman."
Yes.
Like
you inspire me. I accept you as you are, and I think I might be able to accept myself as I am too.
Yeah. And also there's even her own style of shade throw in there, because what it's basically saying is, yeah, there's no excuses for your ridiculousness. You're going to be you, and you won't change.
There's no way you're changing.
There's no way you're changing, which is just the biggest meta slap in the face of anyone paying attention, because it's basically saying, she is wrong. Like,
well,
if you think Hachiman won't change over the course of this show, you are wrong.
Well, okay. So yes, absolutely.
Right.
And at the same time, this is something where her, in parallel with Yui, both of them are, and also the audience maybe needs to realize that while Hachiman will change over the course of the show, because otherwise the show wouldn't end.
Right, like he's not going to be a different, like completely different character necessarily. He could, but it's a thing of that change is not guaranteed.
And but exactly.
He will change,
because it's not guaranteed, you have to address the person as they are right now.
Right.
That has to happen with Hachiman as well. So, in the case of Yukino, there are things that Hachiman does that bother her in sometimes ways of just poking fun at him and sometimes in serious ways. With Yui, it's the same thing, right? His constantly keeping her at arm's length and everything, probably not too fun. But she's figured out how to work around that with her scene later. We'll get to that later. But Yukino is also acknowledging this. So it's they're figuring out how to interact with you, Hachiman. Now, how much are you going to figure out how to interact with them? Because you've got your own way of doing things for sure, but there is that little bit of compromise basically in these social situations where you figure out how to adjust to what they will be able to receive.
You want to hear this See You Tomorrow again? Because I want to point out something. This episode kind of freaked me out about Yukino in a lot of ways here. And especially because of the thing that we were about to talk about with Haruno. But look at the way she walks away, right? She goes, bye. Yep, bye. And she stops, which is like, wait, what? What else is there? She goes back, turns, looks at him.
And she's hesitating a little bit.
Which seems like she's not confident in something.
Right, she's not sure, but she's going to make a decision.
Right. Yeah. Then he looks at her, and I see almost a little bit of worry. I think he thinks that she's about to bring up something that he's not ready to have a conversation about right now. And he he holds his breath. Now, I am one to hyper focus on things that aren't necessarily intentional. But I think this directing choice is very specific. Look at her mouth.
Oh, yeah, I know.
That is
She's gritting her teeth.
I am tense about what I'm about to say.
Yep.
It's and also her hand is not in a power position.
It's not fully open yet. So so she hasn't fully decided. It's hiding her eyes so that we don't see any of the conflict that's happening there.
Yeah. And then it's the most stiff. Awkward, stiff bit here. Now, listen to the way she says see you tomorrow. It is so no confidence in it. It's quiet. It's sensitive.
Yep.
It's see you tomorrow.
I mean, I believe Hayami Sayori is the actress's name.
The VA.
Yeah. And I'm a big fan of hers. So yeah, that was that was
really good.
Yep,
that was really good. Okay, Haruno.
Yeah, so Haruno.
We got beats, y'all. She is a needle. She is a needle.
She totally is a needle, and we knew that she was a needle.
Confirmed now.
But what kind of
She's a different kind of needle.
Well, and so I feel vindicated right now because there was this part of me that was like, okay, I get that. She is behaving the way that she is behaving in an objective sense, right? In the tautology.
Tautology?
Yeah, that's where I'm starting with this.
Okay.
But how much of what we see in the episode, right, is because of that's actually how it's happening or because that's the perception of how it's happening, right?
All right.
Because the kind of ways that she's interacting with the characters is specifically something that seems to be the type of thing that would push the buttons of the characters in the scenes, right?
Yes.
Mostly with Yukino and then Hachiman, right? So if it's just Yukino, she has primarily Yukino, yeah, because there is the teacher, right? But we don't get to see them interact too much. But if Yukino has the biggest history with Haruno, then she should have the best perspective on the kind of person Haruno is. But since it's something that theoretically is Yukino's blind spot, does she have the right perspective? Hachiman is also very perceptive, but he has a ton of biases, right? So how do those things get resolved? Because Haruno, there was always something that felt a little bit off that gave me pause, right?
Yeah.
Even though the show
putting too much energy into this.
Right. So
she
now
cared too much.
Exactly. So now she brings it up and it's like, oh yeah.
This is what you were doing, right, Hachiman?
Yeah,
you should put in the minutes that little achievement you made there.
Yeah,
Look
you did
that.
good, kid. Yeah,
well
not
done.
bad, kid. Yeah.
Yeah, you brought the alien invasion in to unite the planet,
Exactly.
Well done. Yeah.
Right. And no one will necessarily realize that happened. Yukino realized it, but
a couple people realized it.
Yeah, but you did it it was maybe crude work. I would have been much subtler about it, but it was effective.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Which is perfect because now we have our first unique insight into who she is. She is the kind of person who, unlike Hachiman, is doing this And it might not be a selfish thing.
Right.
What she's doing with Yukino is manipulative.
Oh, totally.
It is invasive. She is literally a sewing needle.
Yep.
But is she sewing up to...
Is she trying to inject something like negative or... Yeah.
Or is she trying to guide the threads?
Right. Is she trying to make Yukino stronger?
Because or help her stay connected in groups and friends and stuff like that.
Yeah. Because the main thing that we've gotten from about their relationship up till this point, other than just the general negativity that Yukino has, you know,
towards her,
is the fact that Yukino used to really look up to her and copy everything she did, right?
Good point, yeah.
Now, it doesn't seem to be the kind of thing that really frustrates, you know, Haruno at the very least currently. Maybe it did back then, but we have gotten no information.
Wait, what would
towards
frustrate
that end.
her?
About the idea of the younger sibling that's constantly imitating you, kind of a thing, right?
Oh, I don't know if we have any info related to that.
No. I know. But given the fact that Yukino doesn't currently, why is that?
Well, do we know that she's not imitating her a little bit though?
I would say
that black and white.
I would say we know that she is actively trying to non-imitate her. That when Haruno gets brought up and stuff, that's when she gets pissed because she's like, "Come on, don't compare me to my sister," right?
Right.
She's trying to find out who she is on her own.
I feel like I just want to say my last little thing. I'm sorry. Is that I feel like she is still imitating a little bit. It's just the things that she can't help but imitate. It's those little things.
Sure, but I would say that's that.
But
that's almost. Yeah, that's almost. I wouldn't even call that imitation at that point. I'd just call that like similarities. You know, like.
Okay.
You know, but
because
like,
imitating is an active thing.
Right.
Okay.
It's
all right. Yeah. Totally.
But
good point.
But so then the question is, why isn't Yukino like that now? And if it's something where, you know, it gave me the sense that Haruno did something to change it, whether it was by responding negatively or by being like, you know, I don't think this is actually best for her. Let me do something that will make, you know, I'll con her into basically figuring out her own path.
Yeah, I think that's dead on accurate. What the vibe I got from this here was that you looked at the way she inserted herself into this situation, and the reason why she was inserted here was because I believe the president called her up and was like, "Oh, your sister's taking the charge of this thing here, just like you did. You should come on by and lend some assistance." And she's like, "Oh no, Yukino's still doing it." So she doesn't understand the situation that she's in, that Yukino's in. So she comes here to help, but also to observe and be like, wait a minute, what's really going on? So once she sees what's going on, she goes, oh, this is a completely different issue.
Right.
Okay, cool. If anything, this will be a fun one for her to overcome. I'm going to do my part, and I'm going to pit these two. I'm going to pit them against each other.
Yeah, I'm going to reinforce Sagami's...
exacerbate this.
Yeah, I'm going to take Sagami's dumb plans and things like that and totally agree with them because one, I'm already the enemy of my sisters. Anyways, I've set myself up like that. That worked great.
By proxy, attach my eneminess to someone else, therefore enemy of my enemy, you know?
Right, because now, Yukino.
Or friend of my enemy. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure that you can't ignore this.
Right, you have to have conflict.
You have to actually address it because Yukino's impressive enough with her own capabilities that if this hadn't been stacked against her, she would have been able to do it just fine and get by.
Right.
But that wouldn't have addressed the problem.
Oh my god. I think I just realized why the whole thing of Yukino bringing up the idea of changing works really well with this, is that Yukino's persona, her personality, her aura, her atmosphere that she brings about is so powerful that people don't actually want to risk conflict, aka relationship with her.
Ooh, okay.
Thus, she doesn't get into that many conflicts. Thus, she doesn't change. She doesn't
She
develop.
gets stultified and she's in an echo chamber of her own making.
Right.
Kind of.
So her sister is bringing in conflicts to be like, no. You you have done the right thing and changed your ways by being like me, but now you're just in a bubble. You're stuck. So now I need to poke you, not for the purpose of just breaking your bubble, but if we poke a hole in the bubble that's small, it'll, like a balloon, it'll push you that way.
Right.
Now, the unfortunate thing about this is that Haruno is not perfect. She is a human being.
But she is damn good at what she does.
But what she's doing is going to have lasting repercussions on their relationship as siblings. In the same way that Hachiman's dealings will have lasting repercussions on, well...
His relationships.
Yeah.
Not just one of them.
Not just one of them.
All of them, and it's already happening.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
The thing is that this also puts into a lot of different... It recontextualizes some of the ways in particular that she's interacted with Hachiman.
Yeah.
Because her interactions with Hachiman have been overt, to say the least.
Yeah.
They haven't exactly been subtle, right? But sometimes drastic times call for drastic measures, And like you pointed out this in like before the discussion, but that when she comes up and she puts her finger to Hachiman's lips of like, wait, was this all you're doing? That's when Yukino shows up.
Yeah.
It's like she's aware that she's like, okay, one, my sister doesn't have any friends really until these two showed up. Okay, cool. Oh, a boy. Oh, interesting. My sister. No, she needs help on this one. So I'm going to, antagonize the situation a little bit maybe, right?
Test the metal.
So that at the very least it'll be something that my sister will have to address, regardless of what she chooses, right? And, the previous response to a lot of this intervention is that, Yukino has gone the complete opposite from what Haruno is. It's a start. Yeah. But, so...
Also, I think she recognized rather quickly with Hachiman the kind of person that he is.
Yes.
Because one of the things that they set up here, and I think it's really cool that they did this, Haruno has a backstory that's just kind of sitting in reserve. At any point that the show wants to, it can be like, hey, Hiratsuka and Haruno, what's your guys' detailed backstory? We can get into that if the show wants to. But that pits her in the, she was that age at one point. She was in that literal school at some point. She had the same senpai, sensei, or the teacher, or what have you, as you did. I remember when I was somewhat on this path
7
here.
levels, earlier. Yeah. Right, because
exactly.
Like, especially with how powerful, Yukino and Haruno's family is.
Okay.
It makes sense that she would be this kind of person, right?
I see what you're saying.
She's used to interacting with people that are powerful, and the negotiation is the name of the game, right? Like even if it's because of business stuff, it feels very similar to like how you would imagine a politician's child to be, right? Where it's like there's that social adeptness because they're familiar with figuring out how to get what they want, right? One way or another because of interacting with people, right? It's not what you know, it's who you know, kind of a thing. It's Haruno. No, that was terrible. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. So in these kinds of situations, she sees someone who's like, oh yeah, you're that outside in kind of perspective of you see how these social interactions work and you don't like it, but you've got moxie,
I like you, kid.
I like you, kid. You're rough around the edges, but you'll do.
You'll do if you grow up a little. But other than that, No, Haruno, don't ship it. No, that's not wholesome. No.
But absolutely not.
No.
But by presenting herself in that way, constantly being all like up close and personal with Hachiman, it's poking at Yukino like, hey, what are you doing?
How do you feel about this?
Also, not that Haruno is like super in tune with all the relationship dynamics of their group, but she also knows about Yui and Yukino.
Oh yeah. That whole scene on the park bench. Yeah. We have a new interpretation of that for sure.
Yeah.
But okay, Haruno just having that moment, though, where she's been found out. And while she does the whole pushing, like this is the other thing that didn't get mentioned with the idea of her pushing her finger on his lips, what she's doing is basically saying, no, you that's off limits. You don't get to touch that. You're not family. Because once she does that, she knows two things. One, Yukino's not going to like it. But two, Yukino's going to change the topic of the discussion for her. She doesn't need to follow up on anything with Hachiman.
But
it's
it
just
also...
that's done. Then she comes in, she's like clockwork. Perfect. Oh, no, you're going to kick me out. How cruel. I'm out. Yay! I got what I wanted anyway.
And it also kind of addresses
Mission complete.
Any potential like pride situation within Hachiman of, yes, kid, you're right. Very smart. Good.
Yes,
now shut
exactly.
Up. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I have never had a person I was attracted to in any way do the shh, kind of thing there. But for whatever reason, I've never seen it as something that would be even remotely attractive. It always feels a little creepy to me. Like, like it's just don't touch my lips with something that
maybe in the bedroom. But
no, I think it's just maybe I am not a clean freak. Let me just say this. But just the idea of fingers going in mouths in general, there's just, especially when it's not your finger, like it's just just feels gross.
I see.
Yeah. I don't know, random thing to bring up, but
I might have slightly different tastes on that regard.
But okay, so she gets to get away here.
Yep.
And now I love that Haruno ends this a little bit of, okay, man, this is really how a cultural committee should be. Basically saying, I got it.
Yeah.
This is good.
Yep.
I put my seal of approval on this, which is the little bit of the honey that she comes in with, is that when she sees something that is performing in a more mature kind of way, just in general, she has been consistent with acknowledging it and giving some kind of, I would say, some kind of praise.
You got to have the medicine with the needle,
Yeah, and yet, because of her demeanor and her communication style, someone like Yukino and even Hachiman might just really not like it either way.
Yeah, so and she's comfortable with that.
Exactly. Also, Sagami.
Yeah.
Sagami is now feeling the brunt of all this responsibility that she didn't necessarily want being put on her. And I will just say, I have so much sympathy for her when she got put up on stage there. Because I hate public speaking. I would rather deal... Well, no, that's not true. No, spiders are number one fear, right? Public speaking is number two. Like, it just is number two for me.
I believe the studies go that, at least on paper, people have said that they would rather, die than be, put in a public speaking position.
Especially if there's people out there that they know, mixed in with strangers. Which combination is
blows
just
me away, but that's okay. And as far as a way to quickly get sympathy for Sagami, this is a great way to do it, because now the just desserts are served, right? And she's like, oh, that's right. I really wasn't properly acknowledging the people that do put in the hard work for this stuff. I'm not prepared to be in this situation. And in fact, it would have been nice for me if someone had just said, maybe you should step down.
Yeah. I also want to bring up something that while the comedy bit with Yukino and Hachiman was playing out in the background, and we get this, these guys are such dorkable, idiots. And then they're like, everyone can hear you. Do you realize that Sagami knows this? So here's the thing that I think is just
because the everyone
here.
Can hear you.
Yeah. So there's something that I just wanted to bring up here. She's stammering on the mic and having this really embarrassing situation where she's like, yeah, I was just introduced as the one that led all this, and yet I can barely give out a
basic speech.
A basic speech here, which is from a card. And yeah, I understand totally, girl. It's scary. Stage fright is a thing, and the lights that blind you and everything. But what I think this is that in her mind, she's thinking faster than she's speaking, and it's the, oh no, what is everyone thinking about me? Oh no, all the people now who heard that bit, because I think she started to catch on at the very end once Yukino laughed and stuff, what was happening, even though she didn't necessarily know
how to
intentional
handle
it
it
was or how to handle it. It was something where
I just got basically publicly slapped in the face.
Kind of, yeah. Even if not everyone knows about it, the paranoia of the human mind can infer a lot of things that aren't real just because you're afraid.
Yep.
And the fact that the show is deciding to be like, no, we're going to focus on that there, and then end the episode with her on the toilet just like literally having that little bit of a crisis look where like she is like let me like they do the tilt thing where they show her head down from the top and then they show her looking down and it's the
tilting things like her whole world is destabilized.
And that's a personal nightmare of mine, but I know it is for a lot of people, the idea of being physically out of balance, the idea that if you stand up you can't find gravity,
that kind of
so you keep
infinite vertigo sort
of that is one of my like weird nightmares that I have no actual fear of in reality, but for whatever reason when I'm sleeping.
No one would want to be trapped in a situation like that.
Yeah.
But
okay, now let's get to
Yui and
wholesomely
Hachiman.
forward.
Yes, and I love it because this is okay. So one of the biggest frustrations that I will sometimes have with romantic comedies, and I think a lot of people have this frustration sometimes, depending on the show, is why hasn't this ended already, right? Like, just kiss already, right? Get a room, whatever, confess. Come on, right? But because of how this show has set everything up, right? Baka. Because Hachiman is a self-acknowledged baka, right? And that's the whole point of his character growth arc, right? We can have moments like this where Yui is being I'm just going to say it, the Chad that she's being, and Hachiman isn't able to properly, respond to what she's putting forward. But she is putting it forward, and she's doing in a wonderful way where she's not being so forward that he truly freaks out. Right? She's doing it in some more subtle Hachiman style ways. Right? A little bit. Right?
A little bit. He figured it out eventually.
Yeah. It's making it plenty clear so that you won't be mistaking this for something else. But at the same time, I'm not putting direct pressure on you right now necessarily like I have done in the past. Even though there's still I suppose you'll have to take me there sometime,
Yeah, there's no point. Some people, there's no point in waiting. It's just it's like, huh? Well, yeah, there's no point in waiting for someone who's hopeless. She goes, nah. I mean, I'll be the one to make the first move. And he kind of goes,
And then she slides over.
I nearly forgot. Yeah. Speaking of the first move, here's a small move.
I know how you hate to owe people anything. No, I'm not going to let you split this with me. But you know what? If you want to make it up to me, you can go take me on a dato to get another one.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love that he has his own critiques of the thing because he can't help but critique it, of course. But then he's like, even in almost a little bit of a joking way, he's kind of like, and you're eating my portion of fresh cream, aren't you?
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, fine. And why did it have to be honey toast if that's all you wanted?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Well, it is good, I guess, It's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like,
wonderful callback to the first episode and all that stuff. And
so good.
Yep.
And then he's like, no. I want to be supported, but I do not want any charity. That line, see, remember what I said earlier? There's these little moments where his actions and his words actually align, and you see right through all the defenses, and it's like, buddy.
Because while you tout yourself as being the greatest loser ever, Hachiman, you are unbelievably proud. But, and very believably proud, but it causes little issues and obstacles like this.
Yeah, and yet also him saying, I do want to be supported, but I do not want any charity.
Yep.
That is basically a recipe for disaster. Because if you just perceive any kind of help as charity, you won't be supported by anyone. You won't let them.
Yep. And at the same time, it's saying, but I do want this.
But I do want this.
I do want this, but I can't accept it.
Yep. So it's basically...
Chicken.
Well, it's basically the the catch-22 of I will accept any support I deem as necessary or as needed.
Or as equivalently exchanged.
Well, okay. Hold on. Support. Mm-hmm. Let's get really deep here.
Okay.
Remember the whole character thing?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But then if I did that, I'd be making someone else into a victim. But that's how society works, right?
And that's how society treated me, so I can't let that happen either. It's both pride and the I've been hurt, I won't hurt other people like I've been. Yeah.
Right. But I think you can't have your honey cake and eat it, Hachiman, in this case.
Except you
might be able to.
You might be able to. You kind of just did.
Depending on how you do this with Yui, I would love to have a legitimate. Okay, because Yukino is endgame. There's just no way. But
they keep doing things like this where it's like
watch Yui and him actually start dating.
No, I know.
But then they break up.
So
because they can't actually do a relationship together.
Here's the thing that I'm
starting to actually grow, and where she's growing will take her away from him.
Yeah, and
now she might not want to, so she might do the whole like circle back kind of thing and try to pull him a little bit more by making those first moves. Mm-hmm. I just want Yui to be powerful and just taking her life by the horns and everything, and just
or the balls, either one. Yeah,
by the cake,
right?
Bunches.
And depending on whether you're using which analogy, if it's the cake, stuff her face with it. But point is, I
in the background, Ebina just like upon hearing that, is just like, hell yeah.
I love this show. I love how the characters go and how they grow and all of that, and how stubborn they are, and yet I'm so completely on board with their plights, and yet it frustrates me that it's taking so long, but that's, you only appreciate the stuff that you have to work hard for.
True.
And then knowing that, one, there's still an episode left in the season,
Two episodes.
Two episodes left. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
But then there's also 2 more seasons after that. And if this much has happened, even though, there's so much that has happened in this season so far, even though not much has happened, because rom-com, all that stuff.
Snafu.
Right, snafu. At the same time, it's like, okay, what's going to happen in the future seasons? Because the 3 seasons, it finishes the story, but at the same time, if this is what the first season was, what's going to be the second season that keeps it in that state of rom-com snafuity where where we're not in, where even if we still think, okay, Yukino's probably endgame, we're not sure. Like, if it is something where he gets in a relationship with Yui, but then they break it off like at the end of season 2 or something, or somewhere around there, how will they do it in such a way so that we still believe that there is a possibility that their relationship could be mended, or that he could get together with Yukino? I don't know. Like,
dude, they're in high school. Relationships can last a week.
Definitely. Definitely.
Come on, man.
Oh, yes. Although I think if they ever get to the point where they actually get into a relationship, it will be after enough forethought, basically, because of all of this dancing, around the topic, that it'll last at least a little bit.
Yeah, like 4 episodes. But all right, we got snack food, and we got some good snack food. So. Was waiting to use that.
You were.
Yeah.
Since how long have you been waiting on that one?
Since the honey cake. I was like, that's like some good snack food. So, y'all, thank you so much for watching this entire reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there. All this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
Yes, we got a Twitch channel. We stream Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific time. We stream a lot. The info's down in the description. But for the gaming stuff, Caleb,
I'm playing Cyberpunk 2077 on Wednesdays and Fridays.
Right, and then I'm playing Persona 4 Golden on Thursday.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all
next time.